welcome back to another episode of Single in the City. I'm your host, Genesis Moore, a loveful, talented, and what's a word other than lovely I could use for you? Amazing, darling wonderful co-host, TR Bear, everybody. We got a great episode planned for today, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm excited. So I got a friend, I got more friends now that the season has aired. So you guys, thank y'all for contacting me, being my friends. I needed more friends in life. I'm really happy about this. But my new friend said, what's more important, who we marry or why we marry? And she's reading a book. The book is called The Sacred Search, right?
Okay.
And so that is one of the things that she brought to our group is what's more important, who you marry or why you marry. So for you guys, just answer it in one word. You don't have to, give me your explanation of why, but tell me what's more important, and you can't say both. So who or why?
It's giving why for me.
Okay, why? Okay.
Why for?
Okay.
Yeah, so why
we
too?
are all in agreement. Three's a crowd. That's good. What'd your friend say?
She tried to go the more both route.
Okay.
But
Who?
that wasn't really like giving what it needed to give, I told her, I was like, you got to pick one. That's not what the book says. You got to pick
Right.
one.
Pick one.
So she said who?
Who? Okay.
And her reasoning was because, if you have the right who, so if you're with the right person, you can always figure out the why. Very reverse with what I was
We
thinking.
reverse it, yeah, because I think we are thinking, or at least for me, is that the why of it all is what keeps you there.
Absolutely.
Because we all evolve and change as we grow, especially if we're thinking of going the long haul with someone.
Yeah.
Who we are now is not who we'll be in 10 years. So I think when you remember your vows as you go through the ups and downs of marriage, that keeps you there more so than the who of it all.
I agree.
Guys,
What do you say?
I say, furthermore, like prior to the vows, individually, your individual why should be at the center of making that decision. It's such a huge move, and I don't know if people really think into it far enough. Usually,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's a lot of the perfect person, but the wrong time. If you ask me, more than it's the perfect time, but the wrong person.
That's a really good point. I think it's more so of a why because if you're connected to yourself and your individual purpose, your alignment, and you're living your life in that, right? That's your why. You have a personal why. It's almost kind of like, I told her, I was like, I think of it as people that work for a company for 30 years,
Right.
right? You're not going to work just because you really, really like your boss, or your manager, your friend that's there. It's like you could, that's just the cherry on top, but you enjoy the culture, you enjoy the pay, like why you're there, It has to be a larger drive for you to stay in something for that amount of time,
That's a good
I
point.
think, more than the people that are there. But that's what I kind of use as my example.
I think you just wrapped it up with a perfect bow, if you ask me.
Nailed it for
Oh,
sure.
I got a 10 from TR.
Yes. No, I think that's good because, inevitably both are very much important because the who is what gets you there, but the why, I think, is what keeps you there. So both matter, in my opinion, but I definitely think for the long haul aspect of it, the why is going to help you through those trials and tribulations that we hear so much in marriages.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, kind of. It's like got some other questions bubbling up inside me, like low key. Like, is marriage blessed regardless of who you do it with? Is the institution what God smiles upon, or is it personality based? Like, or are we just, how are we looking at this? Like, what is our why? What are people thinking? I think most of the time people are probably changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just got my mind going. It's super thought provoking.
I think that's a
That was a
good
lot.
point to bring up is where is God in marriage? Is he in the who that you get with? Or is he in the personal why that you went after it?
Well,
And that is what I took away from it, is if you're on a journey and every day you wake up and your number one thing is to give your life back to God, back to Christ in any type of way that you're in it, right? It's going to be a journey. That's a mission. right? You've chosen to live your life in that regard.
Yes.
So then when you pick a person, the who, it's like God's going to send you the right person for your mission. But then you can fall in love also, I think, with someone, to your point, that might be the who for where you are at that moment.
Now, right.
But if your mission is not blessed with who you are as a person starting off, it might fade later on. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Which is why now we hear so many couples doing like pre-marriage counseling and just talking, and some people even decide not even to get married after the pre-marriage counseling.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we consider, where is God factored into all of this?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say that God should be at the center, but I think a lot of times, just based on biblical text, the main reasons that are given, I mean, let's be real, you know what I'm saying? Who's really doing that? And, you know what I'm saying?
Speak for yourself.
I know, right?
Hallelujah.
Not for all the saints.
I'm just saying, I'm sure if we look at the numbers,
Right. Statistically.
it's likely going a little differently than what we're being told or what we want to think it is.
Yeah.
So-
and people aren't talking about that either in church.
Right.
Right.
That it is, there
Yeah.
are different ways and people take different paths at different times in their life. And that doesn't is any greater or any, more minute than someone else's. You get what I'm saying? I do like to point that out because I
Yeah.
think people do try to kind of guilt trip you with that.
That is, but it sometimes is more of like a older saint, because I think when I was reading this question and I say what's more important, the who we marry or the why we marry, I never considered sex as why I marry someone or not marry someone. For me, like for the purity aspect, I don't
Yeah.
even think about it honestly.
Right.
I think about, do I want to be married to this person?
Right.
Period.
I wanna look at you
Do I
every
want to
day.
wake up next to you for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Share accounts, all
See?
of that, more so than the purity of it. I just didn't even, you brought it up. Wow.
I mean, it's crazy because so often that the emphasis that I think people place on this marriage and deciding to pull the trigger on that is based on stuff that is, debatably even contributing to the long-term success. Like people, they take those butterflies and those initial feelings, you know what I'm saying, when you're meeting someone, or
Yeah.
that sexual chemistry that is
Yeah.
going to be inevitably there if you're dealing with someone, you're around them, you're spending, that thing builds. And a lot of people will go into things totally based on that. I think I'll just go on record and say, I don't think it's a great idea to get married just because you're super attracted to someone, although we know people that do this all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And even, I guess on another note, I don't think it's best to marry someone completely based on today and where they are. I think their walk with God should be considered. Who are they accountable to? Are they accountable to God? Are they spiritual? Do they pray? Do
Yeah.
they have a relationship? Like, these are things that can really contribute to the long-term success or the inevitable breakdown of a marriage,
Yeah. And I wholeheartedly agree with that it is very easy to fall for a person for what you find in them now. And not even giving, I guess, a little bit of leeway to the fact that you will change, that person may change, that situation could change. But I do feel that if you're on a mission and you're aligned, right?
Yeah.
That when that special person does come into your life, it might not look like what you thought it was going to be or who you thought it was going to be or any of those different things, but it's like it'll be the right person for your why.
Yes.
That's how I look at it.
Yes.
I love that. That's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
good.
Talk about today when it comes to single in the city. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Sure,
break.
we helped your friend out.
We're going to talk about something that you hear more and more about today. Seems like you hear about it more than we ever did before, and that's dementia?
It's not just an old folks disease. It's not just old folks need to worry about it. Anyone can get dementia. You can get it as, we have people that's in their 20s and 30s that have been diagnosed with it. And then also, if you don't have dementia, you may be a family caregiver or care partner, and you're still impacted, and you still need to know about the disease so you can be able to better support your family or friend that is living with dementia.
Y'all didn't know the answer to this, but John P. Key is your name, but what does the P stand for?
The P actually stands for Prince. Dr. Scott and Brian Scott, years ago when I signed my first deal, they ran with it and started the Prince of Gospel, but that's where it came from. Lizzie and John named me John Prince Key.
Welcome back to Single in the City. I am your host, Justin Gilbert, co-host Miss Genesis Moore and Tiara Berry. Okay, so The Sacred Search by Gary Thomas. Gary Thomas, in his book, The Sacred Search, suggests that individuals that married based on their goals and individual missions instead of infatuation and emotional connections found consistent long-term success in their marriages, thusly making mission-based unions a wise move. The thing that inevitably changes the most over the course of time is our bodies. As we evolve, our minds also change. However, I think of our mission as our why and the foundation of the union. If the why is solid, I think all of the other transitions will be manageable. So the real question about marriage is, what is your why? I'd like to ask you ladies, it's possible to clearly assess your why when sex is in play?
Yikes.
This is before we get married or after?
I mean, before.
This definitely got to be before.
Got a little before.
I mean, I had to ask. I just want to know. I mean, we're having premarital sex? Oh.
That was really good, and that excerpt had me really thinking about that too. It's crazy you say that. I vote no. What about you?
Assess when sex. Okay, so you're asking when sex is in play, do we know the why of why we got married?
Do we know our own personal why as to this person? Like, if we're assessing a potential spouse, are we really clearly able to discern whether or not, we're hitting on the right stuff? Like, oh, well, pardon that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if we're on the same page and if this person is a good candidate for long-term marital success.
I mean, I really think it depends person to person. So that's why I wanted that clarification, because for some people, sex can complicate things and feelings and emotions, and it can cause you to not see clearly. Other people, sex is just sex. So I think that, so if it's the physical attraction that kind of keeps you there versus the mental attraction, I think that factors in greatly. So I think it's both.
See, I have a difference in that because, and this is no offense to anybody at home, but I do personally feel like people that view sex as just sex and they can do it with a lot of different people and not feel anything, I think there's a lot more to be uncovered there emotionally.
Right.
And so I do look at people like that and say, what is wrong here? Maybe something you
Absolutely.
that kind of gets that can't connect, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I think sex is something that is designed to be a connection, a spiritual connection, a physical connection, a mental connection. It is the only thing that really allows two people to kind of join forces into one, you know? And become one, which is why I think it's very sacred when it happens when people are married. So I do feel that there's not really a way, in my opinion, to clearly, if that person matches with your why while sex is on the table.
I see.
So it's like, if I've got my why and you got your why, but I'm thinking that we doing this, if the sex is good, I'm gonna be like, our whys, we are forever connected. We are on the same path. No one's telling me anything different.
So when it comes to dating and specifically deciding whether you want to get married or when you're in that process of making that decision with the other person, is that abstinence or celibacy more so used as like a way to fast and determine whether that person is it because you are abstaining?
That's
You want to go
You
first?
know what I'm saying? Like,
I
does it matter?
I do not.
I want to know.
because I don't know how this is gonna go over. Okay, I'll go this way.
Okay.
Okay.
You would never purchase a vehicle without test driving it, right?
I would.
You would purchase it without test driving?
I would order a Maybach right now. I would order a Tesla right now. Why need to test?
And it's brand new. But that's not the case in these dating scenarios.
Ooh, he got me.
So
well.
that being the case, while I'm one that I do my best to really manage those desires. You know what I'm saying? I can't honestly say that if I deemed a woman worthy of my hand in marriage, that I wouldn't want to take a test drive. I'm just
That's
saying.
interesting. And I'm glad that you bring that up because I think when I mentioned before, when I say that sex is just sex, it's more so like to some people, sex isn't a factor that helps them to decide whether or not it's just like, oh, like we have chemistry and that's something that when we get there, we could work on it, that's it. But I love you for you or I don't love you because I don't love you. And whether or not we having sex,
Yeah.
it ain't gonna change my mind. It could be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, but how I feel about you as a person is just how I feel about you as a
Yeah.
person, you know?
I think all women have been there too. You know, like when you're feeling somebody that a little bit stronger than maybe somebody else, you know? And I understand, I get that, right?
Okay.
But, you know, we're not talking about cars here, we're talking about people. And in talking about people, you know, it is one of those things where if you're test driving as far as mentally and spiritually and emotionally, does the physical part matter so much? Because even if you buy a used car, you know, it's like, it's not gonna ride like it's brand new, but you're still gonna buy it, you know? But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm just being honest here. We're having a real conversation, everybody. Single in the city just got real, all right?
Right.
But I will say that if everything else was factoring in, and we're looking at it from an 80-20 lens, right?
Okay.
And you did not have sex with someone, but you know, before you got married to him, you wouldn't be down? You don't feel like you could properly assess the why?
Do you feel like you could do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that that would be a potential difficulty in the relationship. And while I don't think that it's something that, you know, people need to just, I say have some boundaries in place. If you
Yeah.
take it there. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get into a crazy rhythm. I mean, me personally, I want to, after marriage, have that consistent, that regular situation. So I'm looking to grow to that. So I wouldn't want to get into something like that with someone prior to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, but I need to make sure the lights work. I need to make sure.
This is so
That's real though. I mean,
that
I get
is
it, and I
real.
appreciate that honesty.
No,
because
that's
this is what a lot of men are not going to say out loud, but you know, they really do think. And I'm just one of those people where
It does blur things, but I also think it depends on how long do you want to date somebody, because I do find that people who remain abstinent or celibate, they get married so quick when they feel like they found the one. They be like, let's go ahead and jump the broom because they ready. So I also
and especially
think that,
if they not.
You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, I'm
And
not
they
ready
ready.
to get married. I got a couple years for that and a lot of growth inwardly to do. So it's kind of a hard decision. But maybe if I met someone that made me decide like, oh, I'm ready for that, then it would be easier to be a part of that. Okay, I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna stay pure. But
Yeah.
I think that to your point, a lot of people want to either test drive or they just want to go ahead and buy the car. And unless you're trying to get married in the next 6 months, what you gonna do?
And that,
I think
that's very good. That's, I think it really punctuates how often people enter into these marriages from an emotional place, not so much cerebral, and actually thinking it through and thinking about the things that are really proven to kind of help us determine if we have that long-term compatibility and long-term opportunity for success. So, I mean, yeah, clearly the physical stuff is, that's something that has to be managed and we have to be careful about. However, getting married just for reasons of calming our passions.
Exactly, not a good idea.
Not a great idea.
Not a great idea. And on that note, I hope we kept the kids' ears covered during this segment. Really appreciate the transparency from you both. So break with Single in the City.
But definitely one of my favorite moments of this season.
Oh my God.
Look, and Maria's turning red over here.
Right. You just went in on me for real. I'm like, oh my God.
What's up, House of Hope? It's the Flavor King, and welcome back to Cooking with Flavor KL. You know what time it is. It's time for me to show you how to make chili.
How do you decide what is a priority at the moment versus something that you can complete at a later date?
What feels right in the moment? Because sometimes it's like, okay, this is really high on my priority list, but I really just don't feel like it. But I think that in order to be productive is like, do what's best for what you feel like in the moment. So if this easier task is easier for you, do that and then tackle the harder task.
Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Single in the City. We are talking about the sacred search, and all night we have been talking about what is more important, the who or the why when it comes to marriage.
Yep.
But now is our time to hear from our lovely viewers, meaning you all at home, and some of you that are on Instagram, social media, all those good things. We want to hear from you on tonight's segment. So let's start it off with our new friends. We have a question in here, everybody. And it says, is there a double standard when it comes to sex and dating, especially for millennial women? What do y'all think?
I feel like one of my homegirls asked that one.
They was like, let me dial in, this gonna throw her off.
Obviously, there's still a double standard, no matter how you put it. I think it's still out there. I think men, there's women that's obvious, as we see on social media, but the double standard still exists. That men get to date whoever they want to date. There's no questions about their sexual purity. But for women, we are supposed to be delicate, pure. We wear the white dress because of symbolic reasons. And when we date multiple men at the same time, it's not a good look for us. So.
Justin? Is the only?
Yes.
Do you judge women's track record when you start dating them? Like, do you try to get a gauge of how often does she go on dates? How free or non-free is she?
Well, it's always my goal to foster an environment where, you know what I'm saying, communication can be like elite level. And where if we're friends, why can't we talk about our other dates? Like if I had a bad date and I'm dating a chick, can't we laugh about that? Or is she, you know, is that off limits based on whatever? So I like to think that it's everything's in play. And if we're establishing a friendship and I want that elite level communication, I'll start it off. Yeah, I was on a date last week and such, you know what I'm saying, just to see how it goes. Now, as far as, you know, women's liberation and embracing, you know, the twerk videos on Instagram, in terms of that, you know, in my experience, I think that it's confusing, possibly a little more confusing for women once, you know, that physical begins. So if, you know what I'm saying, if I'm being entertained and she's entertaining someone else and she's being intimate with this other person, I kind of think that gives them more pull in the situation. But if she's intimate with everyone, then it's just kind of all over the place.
Convoluted.
So it just gets strange. It gets strange right in there. And then, you know, and of course the obvious question is, you know, if anything were to take, who's the father? These are the complications that we deal with and why as men sometimes
But again, that's a double standard to think that, you know, because women are the child bearers, that we have to have that who's the father conversation. There is practice safety at all times, right? Isn't that a part of our liberation now that we're just more sexually conscious of how to, you know, take care of ourselves in the bedroom?
I agree. I mean, I think that we do live in a time where it is good to be free and feel you're living in your truth. And now we live in an environment where people don't even have to hide or feel like that they have to mask who they are. Even so, and I think it goes, I always look at it like this, and this is kind of what I tell people and my little cousins and people that ask me stuff like that. It's like, how do you want to be remembered? Because even though, you know, we live in a new society and things of that nature and all this other type of stuff, A, do you really want everybody to know your business? Whether you're doing it or not? Like, everybody should know. B, even moving further, everybody shouldn't be able to, you know, experience what it is you.
Yeah.
I think like being a woman is in our femininity, in our love, and just our presence and everything that we are is so sacred, you know, that's why God made us women. So I'm not hating on men for them being able to go out with 50 different other people and maybe pretend like they don't feel anything or the best for the time, you know, or whatever. But as women, I do think that it is important for us to be a little bit more selective and a little bit more in tune with keeping our inner being safe. Like, we got to protect ourselves emotionally and with our light more than anything else, not just with, you know, our bodies when we're talking about, you know, practicing safe sex.
I think that's a good way to put it. And I think that we are, in a way, acknowledge sacredness of it all when it comes to being women, but also acknowledging the double standard.
Yeah.
It does exist, and it is what it is. We didn't make the rules, we just live in them.
Well, listening to you speak on it, Genesis, it made me think that if a woman has an issue being honest about it and putting something out there.
So if you're going to challenge the status quo, you got to stand on it. Die on that hill, right?
Come on, Jasmine.
All right. I have a question coming in from Dante in Louisville.
Okay.
Kentucky, what's up?
Let's go.
All right. He wants to know, have you ever been to a wedding? And the why we marry? Would you ever go and say, well, now why are they marrying this fool?
Yeah, I've been to a couple weddings like that.
Same.
I was a bridesmaid in a wedding like that.
Ooh.
What gave it away? How'd you know? Like, this ain't
right. What were
Being
the
backstage
signs?
with the bride talking about she don't want to go out there. I said, girl, you getting married today?
Well, not like cold feet, like, you know, wedding jitters. Like,
no,
I really don't like him like that. I don't want to go there.
Fighting tears while going down the aisle, not because she's experiencing the moment, but because she's like, whoa. How
did she do that?
I think a lot of people feel pressured to get married because someone else wants to marry them. And I think for women, if there's a bachelor who's like, you know what, I pick you, they kind of tend to jump on that. You know?
The pick me thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, am I stupid if I let him go?
Right.
Because he's
Is
a good
someone
guy.
else gonna love me the way he does, even though he's not the one?
Ooh, that's a whole nother segment for another day.
Another day,
that
for
was
sure.
good. Wow.
That's deep.
Poor thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess how often have you seen a proposal be denied? Like, think about it. Like, it's even jarring in the movies. Like, it is like, ooh. Like, whoa,
That's
how
really
does that,
mean.
How does that feel, you know? But
That's true.
I'm all for even saying yes publicly, but immediately, like, we need to talk.
We need to talk about this.
Let's go
We just going, when y'all get married, it's going to be a while before we get married. We're just going to keep each other, work on our credit, you know, something before we got to save up for the wedding. But, I mean.
We still going to be dating other people? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I had a cousin like that, man. I'm not lying.
So when you experienced going into the divorce, what were the signs that you saw?
For me, it was more of like a compatibility sign. Like, I've been to weddings and looked at people and just kind of said, it felt like it was out of obligation, not out of genuine love. It's, I think especially sometimes we talk about what it is on women, but we never really talk about what it is on men.
Right.
And how
Pressure.
when men hit, 31, 32, and all their friends from college are getting married, you're going to all these weddings and stuff, it hits them differently too. And then they start thinking, I want to be married tomorrow. And then they, just find somebody that checks all these boxes, and then next thing you know, they're walking down the aisle, and that's not who they really want to be with. And you could look at that and just say,
Yo, that is so true. Like, I can't tell you, recently, like, my stomach has turned when I've seen this misnomer being perpetuated that says man is ready, then he goes and, and it's like he could be in a relationship with this woman, and, we hear women talk about this all the time. I made him, I helped him, I built him up. I groomed him up.
Groom.
And then when we broke up, he went and got married immediately. And it's like, that is not wise. I don't know why men keep accepting that as something that's cool to do, but you still got to vet these women, you know what I'm saying? And just because you're ready to be married is not a good reason to get married, you know what I'm saying? You need to make sure that you guys are compatible and that your missions line up.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that you can support each other properly. I also hear guys, I cringe when I hear this one too, like when men have been rescued in a way by a woman, and they talk about how she supported me through such and such.
Gotta die. She deserve it.
It's like, that stuff, I think that stuff is such a setup for failure. And I just
a waste of time.
You don't want to be
that's not good.
Yeah.
We ain't in debt to each
And
other.
then that's the thing, though. I know people right now, and don't come for me after I say this because you knew you was in it before I said it on this show. But I will say, I know people right now that are in relationships with people and know they don't want to be there, but feel like I've been with this person for X amount of time. I've, experienced this with this person. I don't feel like I'm ever going to be able to love and trust, or they just lazy.
Yep.
And they don't want to try to experience it with anybody else, But here's the thing. If you really want to be in love, don't be lazy. That's just what I say.
That's great.
That's true.
Really vet people. Get to know them, And, hey, you might tumble down and get your heart broken every now and again, but
dust yourself off and try again.
Come on,
don't walk
Aaliyah
down
said
the
it
aisle with
best.
somebody that you know you ain't meant to be with, that God ain't ordained for you.
Don't do it.
yes.
Well, it's been good getting to answer some of these questions for our viewers. I thoroughly enjoyed you guys tonight. I enjoyed the audience out there as well, and I speak for my co-host to say we all enjoyed you. This has been a phenomenal episode of Single in the City. I'm no Carrie Bradshaw, but it also felt like Sex in the City. A little bit, right?
We did. We talked about it tonight.
Yeah, we did. We hit on a lot tonight, and we are so excited that you guys keep tuning into us. Please check us out. Continue to check us out and comment and feature and do all that. Repost us.
Yeah.
And we will see you in our next episode of Single in the City.
You're my lucky strike. Love the